Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Dakota Meyer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Welcome to Sentinel. Some of you wrote to me and asked for my thoughts on Sergeant Dakota Meyer re-enlisting back into the Marine Corps after 15 years. Bottom line up front, I think it's fantastic. This is huge. And the reason being is because, he's a very interesting individual. For the main reason is, aside from his heroic achievement that he did in Afghanistan, he's a pretty stand-up dude, and I'll tell you why. Because I've watched him since day one when he received his Medal of Honor in 2011. He's fairly straightforward and blunt, and I kind of like that. There's a story that President Obama also recited during the Medal of Honor ceremony that when the White House staff called him to coordinate the time for the ceremony, he told them to call back during his lunch hour. Now think about this. Here's a guy working construction in Kentucky, and he tells the White House, "Hey, I'm busy right now. Call me back during my lunch hour." So President Obama called him back during his lunch hour. Evidently, according to President Obama, Dakota Meyer told him, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So that's why I only take phone calls during my lunch hour.
Point out something else. Of all the Medal of Honor recipients in recent decades, Dakota is also one of the youngest. He's 23 years old, and he performed the extraordinary actions for which he is being recognized today when he was just 21 years old. Despite all this, I have to say Dakota is one of the most down-to-earth guys that you will ever meet. In fact, when my staff first tried to arrange the phone call so I could have told him that I'd approved this medal, Dakota was at work at his new civilian job on a construction site. He felt he couldn't take the call right then because he said, "If I don't work, I don't get paid." So we arranged to make sure he got the call during his lunch break. I told him the news, and then he went right back to work. That's the kind of guy he is. He also asked to have a beer with me, which we were able to execute yesterday.
The president was quite impressed by his humility and his straightforwardness, and and that's something that I kind of admire in him as well. Unfortunately, just like many service members that served in combat, and he served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both, there's a lot of baggage you bring back home. And evidently, Dakota was sent back home early from his deployment to Afghanistan. But, according to his own words, he's wound too tight, and they wanted to get him out of there. At that point, there's no mention of Medal of Honor or anything like that. So he was sent home. And then he received treatment for PTSD. And later on, he had some personal issues, obviously. We all know about him getting married to Bristol Palin, Sarah Palin's daughter, and unfortunately, they got divorced and whatnot. Nonetheless, so there's a lot of concerns within the Marine Corps community about Dakota Meyer, how he's going to turn out, because getting a Medal of Honor is a pretty significant responsibility. Not only do you have to deal with the issues that a normal person would deal with having been to combat, but you also have this awesome responsibility that the Medal of Honor brings with it. Every word that you say is scrutinized. Every action is scrutinized. Every thought is pretty much scrutinized. Things weren't going all that well for Dakota Meyer during that time period. Nonetheless, he was able to turn his life back around, got remarried, and then started producing these videos about him getting in shape for the Ironman. And so I started following him then. And they were quite interesting videos, and you could see his body changing. He started losing weight, and he got that lean look back in him. And I was quite impressed. And in fact, it was last week I was watching one of his videos, and I was really happy for him that he's got his life back in order. Nonetheless, so when I found out he'd re-enlisted, I was ecstatic. I was stoked. And the reason I was stoked was quite simply, we need good people back in the military. And I think it's a fantastic example for others to follow. And it's a great recruiting pitch that, a Medal of Honor recipient comes back into the United States Marine Corps. Now, think about this. He has a Medal of Honor. He doesn't have to come back into the military. He's got the world at his feet. Everywhere he goes, people salute. They get out of the way. They treat him like he ought to be treated, with great respect and humility. But he decided to continue his service to the country, and I think that's just awesome. And the other reason I think it's awesome is because having him in the ranks as a sergeant is really going to give a voice to our enlisted troops and some of the issues that they have to deal with. Sergeant Meyer in the past has been involved with many veterans issues, so he's kind of familiar with what the veterans go through, and also he's got a voice. And he's got a direct line of communications all the way up to the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, to the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and to the Secretary of Defense. So by having him in the ranks is going to up everybody's game. It's going to make us better. So I think this is great. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Marine Corps, and I'm certainly very happy for our nation. We need good people to step back up. And in fact, I'm so fired up about this that I'm ready to go back in. So this is great news for Team America. I salute Sergeant Dakota Meyer for yet again setting the example for the rest of us. I wish you great success in the Marine Corps. For the viewers, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about Sergeant Dakota Meyer re-enlisting back in the Marine Corps. And before I sign off, just a reminder to make sure you hit a share, like, and subscribe. And that's all I got. Stay rugged, stay united. Khan out.